Hey there. I just thought while I was waiting today for those of you to show up on Zoom, I would go ahead and share a story with you. This is one of my favorite all-time stories. There's actually three books in the series, and this is Polly and Buster, the Wayward Rich and the Feelings Monster. So I'm going to read you the first chapter of this book because I just love it. I love this book so much when it comes to what's going on in our world today that I just think it's the neatest thing. So, Polly Project is terrible at spells. Have you ever been really terrible at something? I think we all have, especially those of us that struggle with reading. Anyway, Polly Project is terrible at spells, which is rather unfortunate when you're a witch. Today's Polly's teacher is teaching the class how to make a potion to remove warts. Wart removal is supposed to be one of the easiest spells in the book. And this time, I'm going to make sure nothing goes wrong, thinks Polly. Have you ever thought like that, where you want to try something and you're like, okay, I've messed up before in the past, but this time I'm not going to mess up. I'm that way sometimes with videos. Polly lines up the dusty jars of ingredients and marks them off in her book. All I have to do is carefully follow the instructions in the spell book, like Miss Bedmaker tells us to do. Miss Bedmaker is Polly's favorite teacher. She has curly red hair, which she knots into a messy bun at the top of her head, and she jangles with silver earrings when she walks. Instead of the plain black school cape most of the academy teachers wear, Miss Bedmaker wears a velvet cape embroidered with colorful threads and studded with light octennial mirrors. The mirrors catch the sunlight as it slants through the high windows and sends them dancing lights across the room. Polly thinks Miss Bedmaker is gorgeous. Polly thinks Miss already read that. Miss Bedmaker has put Polly in a group with Rosemary and Valentine, who is very good at spells. Polly knows that Miss Bedmaker hopes some of her cleverness might rub off on her. Polly secretly hopes that this might happen too. It's not that Polly isn't clever, as Miss Bedmaker reassures her. It's just that she gets muddled in her head when she gives long and complicated instructions. You may feel like that sometimes. You may be like, come on, brain. I know this. Come on, brain. It is 3 drops of toad juice next, Polly often wonders when she's in the middle of a spell. Or is it a pinch of dried snake blood? Here she is getting ready for the thing. And sometimes when Polly looks at the yellow pages of her leather-bound spell book, the letters seem to dance across the page. The letter D might suddenly look like P, and the W's might seem to transform into an M. Polly decides to be extra careful today. She watches Rosemary neatly trip 3 tablespoons of milkweed snap into her cauldron, and the potion bubbles up and as a perfect puff of smoke floats toward the ceiling. Miss Bedmaker is walking around the classroom hanging out toads for everyone to practice on. Come along, Polly, she says as she approaches the table. Have you started yet? Miss Bedmaker plops down 3 warty toads on the table. There's the toads. Ooh. Polly, Rosemary, and Valentine quickly clap their hands over them before they leap away. Polly shudders when she feels the bumpy, clammy skin. Rosemary picks up a piblet, dips it into her bubbling portion, and squeezes the rubber bulb to fill up the glass tube. Then she squirts a drop of the potion onto one of her toad's biggest warts. At first, the wart pops up into a clear blister, but then it pops and shivers and disappears. Good work, Rosemary, Miss Bedmaker says and walks over to another table. Polly peers down at her spell book again and chews the inside of her lip. Have you ever felt like that? Like this? Sometimes if you get extra nervous, you're just afraid. Or sometimes it might be like that, just when you get extra nervous. She can't remember if she's already sprinkled in the new crystals or if she's up to the bat flakes. Does TSB mean tablespoon or teaspoon? Polly is too embarrassed to ask Valentine. Valentine is kind and sort of friendly, but Polly knows she will roll her eyes if she has to explain the recipe again. So Polly tosses in a handful of new crystals just in case. She figures it's better to have too much than not enough. Her portion bubbles up furiously, and Polly decides this means it's ready to use. She squeezes up a big blob of liquid onto her piblet and squirts it onto her toad. Oh, look, look, Polly says. It's working. The warts on the toad's back begin to bubble up and blister. Good work, Polly, Miss Binmaker says as she hurries over, bracelets jangling. And as they watch, the toad keeps bubbling and bubbling and bubbling until its slimy skin is just a great mass of warts. Ew, Rosemary says, hopping backwards in disgust. Her toad leaps off the table. Mallory and Willow, who are working on the next bench, rush over to see what all the fuss is about. Willow slips on Rosemary's toad as it hops onto the stone floor. She fails against Boris and Walker's table, and their cauldrons wobble precariously, then clash to the ground. The warlocks spring backward, but splashes of the foamy portion spray on their trouser legs. Polly watches in horror as the uniform fabric dissolves where the potion has hit, and splotches of warts begin to sprout on their legs. Mallory snorts in laughter. Look what you've done, Polly, and now your toad is ready to explode. It's true, the poor creature is twice the size and has been sprouting out the mouth. Everyone, look what Polly has done to the toad, Mallory yells. The other students rush over to Polly's table. Escaping toads leap about the classroom. Polly fears a fiery rage boiling up inside her. All Polly can see at that moment is mean Mallory Holloway, laughing her head off at Polly for winning another portion. And before she can take a breath to calm herself, Polly has flung her loaded piplet full of wart potion right into Mallory's face. Polly gasps when she realizes what she has done, but of course it's too late. Mallory's pretty skin is blistering onto warts all over her face. Mallory claps her hands to her cheeks and screams. And at that precise moment, Polly's toad explodes. Bits of toad splatter everywhere. Enough, roars Miss Binmaker, sweeping a spell across the room to freeze everyone in their places. Even the hopping toads are caught mid-flight and pop to the ground. The students stand fixed, eyes rolled toward their teacher until she has released the spell and they can move again. Boris, Mallory, off to Maltrin's office, Miss Binmaker says firmly. She will fix you up. Walter, you too, if your legs have been affected. And the rest of you go back to your desk, quick, smart, and continue on with your portions. I don't want to hear another peep out of a single witch or warlock for the rest of the lesson. Is that clear? Yes, Miss Binmaker, the students mumble as they stumble back to their desks, still giggling and picking bits of toad off their uniforms. Mallory shoots Polly a nasty look as she leaves the classroom, wiping her long black plaits over her shoulders. Those are like braids, plaits that are on her shoulders. And Polly, Miss Binmaker signs, you will stay behind after class to clean up this mess. Yes, Miss Binmaker, Polly says. Her heart is heavy as stone. She has disappointed her favorite teacher yet again. No matter how hard she tries, Polly just can't seem to do anything right. And that is chapter 1 of this book. And like I said, there is 3 chapters. So it's just so full. And I want to show you one other thing real quick before we go. The illustrations in this book are just incredible. So